Hey everyone, happy fall 2022 and welcome back to Trajectory. This is our first episode of the fall semester, and we're really excited to be sitting down with Rachel Katcoff.
My name is Rachel. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a senior psychology and public health major, and I'm going for a certificate in medical humanities, and I'm from North Reading, Massachusetts. And when it comes to anything else that I'm involved in on campus, I work as a research and teaching assistant in the psychology department. I'm also in Psych, which is an honor society for psychology majors. I'm involved with UMass Dance Marathon and Protect Our Breasts.
Amazing. So your interests are pretty widespread, and it sounds like you have a hand or two or more in lots of different pots on campus.
Yeah, because like that's why I love what I love about like such a big campus is that since there's so many people, there's so many different kinds of organizations. So I love that I can be involved in anything that I want.
Yeah, that's such a good point. You said you're from Massachusetts, so naturally I figure that any student from Massachusetts, when they're looking at colleges, like probably look at the state schools. Did you know that you wanted to go to a big institution like UMass, or when you were college searching, were you looking at both small schools and big schools?
So the way that I did it was I feel like maybe a little bit different than others in the sense of I've just always for me it wasn't necessarily about like how big the school was or like programs or anything like that. I just always knew I wanted to go to UMass. Um, and I didn't have like any family that went here. It wasn't like that. It was just like I don't know. I've always seen like pictures of UMass. I've always heard of it. And for me, like ever since I was younger, when I heard of like the place I want to go after high school, it was just always UMass. Like it wasn't even a question.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really cool that UMass was like your number one and you ended up here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you take us back to what your transition from high school to college was like? So I know it was a few years ago now, but if you can remember back to what it was like to get accepted and then what it was like to actually move here and start on campus. Yeah, I'm curious to know, especially because you're a senior now and you're sort of looking ahead at the future. I'm also interested to hear your thoughts on looking back, and what it was like to arrive here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna be completely honest. I would say that it was really difficult because I remember if we're going back like all the way like senior year of high school when I like first got the acceptance letter, it was like, I remember just being like so happy for the independence and like, oh my gosh, I'm going to UMass and like sending like screenshots of like the letter to like all my family, all my friends, jumping around. I was so happy. And I was so excited up until moving day when like I moved in, like the door shut, my family was gone, and I went, "Oh my God, I'm alone."
That's so relatable. Yeah, speak more on that. What was it like to have that realization? Um, and I'm also curious about how you overcame that or how you found ways to connect. But yeah, talk a little bit more about what that experience was like.
Yeah, I think like the main thing that made it so hard that I didn't really even realize that I was doing during high school was that I had and there's obviously nothing wrong with this, but I had, a small group of very close friends and I was with them every day. And that's what I was used to. I was used to being with my small group of friends and going back home to my family. And I never really had anything different from that. And all of a
Mm.
sudden, none of them were here. My family wasn't here. So I had nobody to fall back on. Um, and also and this isn't now thinking back on it, I don't think it's necessarily true, but I felt like everybody already had their own groups. And especially the building that I lived in, the floor, it was a rap. And I was one of the three people on that floor that wasn't in that specific rap. So I
Mm.
felt like they were all close and I had no way of like, making my way into that group. So it was just like a really lonely time.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds really isolating and alienating. And I also feel like it's a narrative that so many, not only first years, but so many college students in general can relate to.
Yeah, especially because for me, if I'm being honest, I would say that it took a really long time to fully adjust and really find my place here. Um, because I remember, so I had my freshman year, then halfway through, I got sent home due to COVID. Um, so I don't know. So I left, still feeling that sense of isolation, and I never left my room. Like the more time I spent in my room, the more time it felt like a jail cell, which it isn't, but it feels that way when you don't leave. But so I left feeling that way. So that's kind of how I associated the school. And I
Yeah.
thought like UMass wasn't really like, I don't know, it wasn't the utopia that like I thought it was gonna be. And I like kept thinking like, oh, like, am I not meant to be here? Like, like, is this not the place for me? And I kind of went back home feeling that way. And, came back junior year and I was like, and I, and if I'm being honest, like when I came back junior year, I still kind of felt that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
right, how could you not? Because you left the place feeling that way, and then your only experience with it was disconnected from campus because we all were. So it makes just to validate that, yeah, like I think that I too, if I had left a place feeling that way and sort of had this in between time where I was connected to the place virtually, but like, coming back, it makes so much sense that those feelings would also come back because that was kind of your last experience with it.
right. And then so when I came back junior year, that's when I've kind of had that realization of I I'm never gonna feel like I have a place in the school unless I actually do something about it. People aren't gonna come up to me. I have to go up to them and I have to actually take action to, better myself and better my experience at the school. So that's when I, really started to look into clubs and organizations and anything I could get involved with. Like I like went to everything.
That's a really brave realization. I think and it takes, I don't know, I'm hearing from you that you gained almost a sense of self-confidence because it takes a kind of confidence to say, no one's going to come up to me, but that doesn't mean I'm not worth knowing. And that doesn't mean I'm not worth getting involved with and putting myself out there. It sounds like you have to have some self-assuredness to be that vulnerable or to be that brave, which I think is really admirable, especially to gain that sense of yeah, again, self-assuredness and then action during the pandemic, right? Like you came back to campus and you kind of activated that, but it was developing in you for that year and a half of the isolation part of the pandemic, um, which I think is really cool. And like in a way, this silver lining that you gained from the pandemic, um, and then you really proved to yourself like not only do I have this knowledge now, but I'm going to act on it. I'm going to take a chance. I'm gonna like take a chance on myself and
Mhm.
on the campus.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the word of self-confidence because that was something that I realized was really tearing me down. Because that was just a major part of why I didn't really talk to anyone my freshman year, or honestly, even for a while after I came back my junior year. Again, like feeling like everybody already had those groups and everybody already found their place. It was really hard to talk to people without feeling like I was bothering them and like I was intruding in
Mm.
their space. So it was also the realization of, well, how would I feel if like a random, not necessarily even a random person, but if like a new person came up and talked to me, like I don't know, I wouldn't feel bothered. I would just be happy to get to know someone new. So it
Yeah,
was also
yeah,
like I had to take that effort to put myself in other people's shoes and think, is it really a bad thing to go up and talk to someone?
right. Yeah, completely. I think that's a really good um flipping the script that honestly I employ too in my own life to sort of um help me like see the situation without my biases and without sort of like, the self-critical voices that we all have kind of swirling around our heads. But when you think, oh, yeah, I would welcome the opportunity and I would feel grateful if somebody came up to me and thought I was approachable enough to say, like, hey, who are you? How are you? What are you involved with? Um, so I think that is a really useful tool that hopefully listeners will take away too. That like, okay, if you think that you're being too much or intrusive or you're bothering someone, just think about if someone if you were in someone else's shoes or if someone was in your shoes, if the roles were reversed, would you have that attitude towards someone? And like almost 100% of the time, I think the answer is no.
Right, exactly. I mean, I don't know like the exact science behind this, but I feel like it's just so natural to feel critical about yourself or
Hmm.
just overly critical about yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think it's amazing that you were able to, even if that criticism of yourself didn't go away, you kind of pushed through it to say, okay, that self-criticism is here, and also I'm not going to let it get in the way anymore of connecting to other people and to connecting to things that I'm interested in, taking advantage of the campus community. Um, and I'm curious about that shift. So once you decided, hey, like I need to put myself out there, I need to start seeing where I belong, I need to start creating my own community. Where did you go first? Like once you made that decision, how did you then progress into actually finding your community?
Um, I would honestly say that I just went around and you know how like in the student union, there's a lot of flyers up for different clubs, different events. I just took not screenshots, but pictures of all of them or as many as I could. And I just like tried to go to as many of them as I could. Like even if it was like something that I'd never tried out before. And I know that like again, like going back to like feeling overly critical about myself freshman year, I know that even if somebody would invite me freshman year, I would have absolutely said no to go into any event that I wasn't 100%, you know, sure that I knew anything about it.
Mm.
But this time I just decided I'm going to say yes to everything. I'm going to go to everything that I can. Like I remember one of the first things that I went to was so my roommate from last year, she's in the ballroom team. So I went to one of the ballroom socials. We learned how to cha-cha, and that was like something that I would have never done before. But then I went and it was so much fun and it was amazing. And yeah, it just made me realize like, oh my God, like how much have I been missing out on? Like
Mm.
if because it's obviously not the first time they've done this, they've always been doing this.
Right, right. And I think you're speaking to something that is so special about particularly an on-campus college experience and at a school the size of UMass when there is a group for almost everything that you could dream of on campus. Part of the honor and privilege and excitement of being able to be on campus with all of these groups is exploring them and allowing yourself the freedom to sort of explore your own interests and see if there's something that you never, yeah, that you never thought you had a connection to or that you would like, just trying it out because there are, especially for club involvement, there are basically no strings attached, right? Like you can go to an
Right.
RSO meeting, check it out, see if it's something that you want to be involved with, or see if it's something that you can say, hey, that's really cool that UMass has that. And it's not for me, but I'm so glad that I went and checked it out and just saw what other students are doing, what my peers are doing. I think that that is like, as a staff member and somebody who not that long ago was an undergraduate myself, that's something that I I reflect back on my college experience and I say, wow, I could have checked more stuff out. Like what would my personal life and hobbies and interests look like if I tried out more activities or more ways to get involved that were maybe foreign to me or that I wasn't so comfortable with yet. And so, definitely, as in my own life, just as a lifelong learner and a person of the world, but also in my life as a staff member where I interact with students, I'm trying to encourage that sense of curiosity and openness. And I think it's really cool that you pushed yourself to get there and it seems like, especially because you are involved in a good handful of things on campus, it seems like that was rewarding for you.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. Because I maybe realized how much I love being surrounded by people, how much in general, just how much I love talking and getting to know new people. Because especially at a big college campus like this, there's like so many students from all over the world. Um, and I don't know, it made me realize like I want to go to everything and I want to get to know as many people as possible.
Yeah. So as you were sort of doing your like RSO speed dating, right? And you were going to everything,
Love that way of
trying it
putting
in.
it.
You were seeing what piqued your interest. When did you land on the organizations that you're involved with now?
Um, Honestly, I wouldn't really say there was like obviously a specific time period or anything. It was more just like general interest meetings of like a few different RSOs.
Mm,
Um, and then I would kind of naturally find myself like wanting to go to them and didn't really, not that I saw any of them as like a chore, but I never really saw any of them as like, okay, like I guess I'll like after my class, like I'll go to this. It was like I found ones that are like, I really want to go to that. Like it's just part of my routine and I'm okay with it.
yeah. Yeah. For the dance marathon, can you talk to me a little bit about what that's like to be involved with on campus?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't really had like heavy involvement with Dance Marathon, but it is still something that I'm really passionate about. My freshman year, I was very minimally involved. I just like signed up for it. But then COVID cut it short, so nothing really came out of that. And then this semester, I know somebody else is on the steering team, which is something that so there's executive board members, and then the steering team kind of like works for each of them. So I knew someone who was on the steering team, and we were talking about it, and it seemed, and it also maybe remember that, oh yeah, that was something that I signed up for freshman year, and it never happened. So I'd love to like kind of make a comeback and like I don't know, be involved in it a lot more than I could have been. So what I do for them is I'm their director for campus stewardship. So what that means is every week or every couple weeks, there's a newsletter that I send out to all of the RSOs that are signed up for Dance Marathon and all of the Greek organization teams that are signed up as well.
Very
Um,
cool.
but it's really rewarding, especially because there's stuff that I didn't know before joining. Like I never really knew that Bay State gets a lot of their funding through Dance Marathon and other donations.
Mm,
Um, and I don't know, I never really knew like the scale of the impact Dance Marathon had. So
yeah.
like as I was like learning more about it while being in it, I was just like, yeah, I'm like so I don't know, I'm just like so happy to be involved in with something like this and actually be making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah. I was about to say those exact words, right? When you're connected to something and you can see the difference that it makes, right? Like you think that, oh, maybe I'm just a small part of this organization that's on campus and they're connected to the community and that's really cool. But then when you dig a little deeper and you're like, whoa, actually this like helps provide life-saving services to people. This like helps keep health organizations running in my community. Like that's powerful stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And also just, being around other people who are also passionate about that.
Mhm.
I don't know, I just find it really motivating and it's something that I want to do for a lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. My I had written some questions, and I feel like this is a an unexpected but kind of easy way to transition into your academic world because like you just mentioned that there is something you're involved with extracurricularly, but it's shaping something that you might want to be involved in if not career but longer term. And so I'm wondering about your academic world and your RA position in the lab that you work in. And if you could talk a little bit about what that experience is like and how working in that lab might shape your perspective, for your academic life, but also kind of broader because you wrote a little bit about it when you had submitted your intake form for a trajectory. And I didn't even, first of all, know that lab existed. And it sounds fascinating. So I'm really excited to hear more.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. So when I was kind of like, doing the RSO speed dating, something else that I was also looking into, not just RSOs, but I knew that I also really wanted to be more involved in the psychology department. Mainly because that's something that I know I want to go to pursue it to a further education after I graduate from my undergrad. So I wanted to see what there is offered, especially because it's a big department. So I started looking into the different labs that were hiring people. And one of them was the War and Peace Lab, which is the one that I work in now. Um, so I initially applied to a few of them, but that one, at least to me by far, the description of it was, I don't know, really fascinating, especially because I love learning about current events and I love trying to come up with the right words to describe this, but I love having a place in understanding why current events work, not just like
Mm.
because of people's environment, but also, physically. Is there a physical reason why a current event happens, if that makes sense?
Mm. Yeah.
Because so what we're studying in the lab is it's the relationship between Republicans and Democrats. So it's all about the issue of political division in the United States. So what we do is we have two people come in, one person that self-identifies as a Republican, one that self-identifies as a Democrat, and we both have them sit in different rooms. We hook equipment up to them, and we have them read an article, do a writing prompt, and that's all for them to prepare to talk to each other at the end of it. And while they're preparing to talk to each other, we also talk to them, ask them how they're feeling. And there's also somebody else who's checking how much blood. So some of the equipment is there's some skin tape around the neck, around the torso, some finger sensors. And there's somebody who's checking how much blood is flowing
Mm.
through the tapes, their pulse, everything like that. And we mainly just see how their physiological reaction to while they're anticipating that they're going to speak to someone who they might see as a like quote unquote enemy.
Hmm. Hmm. That is fascinating. That is such, yeah, I feel like that speaks volumes about the body brain connection and right how we I think differentiate psychology from physiology, right? Because psychology is brain, physiology, body, but obviously your brain is housed in your body, right? And so
Right.
when you're preparing to when you're preparing for what you think is going to be um like a conversation filled with conflict, your body is going to send signals to you. It's going to respond to sort of your thought processes and trigger bodily reactions, which then can feed those thought processes. So I think it's really cool that your lab is exploring that body brain relationship. And like you said, looking at, okay, is there sort of something in our physiology that's getting activated that makes it easier or more difficult to talk to people across, what we identify as the political divide or the political aisle?
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like it's more about the combination of their physical reaction and also the answers they give, whether it's the writing prompt or us asking questions about what they think about current events or what they feel about talking to the person who's on the opposite political party. And yeah, I feel like it's about finding the connection between the two and also combining that with the environment and using all of that to say, like, how can we use this to I don't know. How can we use this to like create peace and create a world where we don't see each other as enemies?
Mm.
And also I find it fascinating how so right now we're studying political relations, but and I wasn't there when they were studying this, but a few years ago I know it used to be about Israel and Palestinian relationships. So it kind of changes depending on the year, which I also find fascinating.
Right, right, yeah. Looking at, but it sounds like that undercurrent theme of division and reconciliation, right? Of something that is creating, be it anywhere from sort of animosity all the way to like violence among groups, and how we better understand what is going on for a person when they're relating to a conflict like that. I think that's really cool. Is that something like when you decided that you wanted to major in psychology, were you thinking about sort of this lab research end of it? Or what did, I guess my question really is, what got you involved in majoring in psychology, and what has surprised you along the way as you've gone further and further to complete your major?
Yeah, so I remember when I first came to UMass, I came in undecided for social and behavioral sciences. So it wasn't really even the College of Psychology. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I thought maybe I want to be a business major. I really had no clue. But then I took one. one psychology class, and I thought it was fascinating. Learning about like the Stanford prison experiment.
Mm,
I love the way that I don't know. I love finding out why people act the way that they do, and if there's anything that we can do about it when it comes to people acting negatively or harmfully towards themselves or others. Um, and I also kind of thought about it, and I realized that mental health is definitely the field that I want to, because mental health is something that a lot of people around me has dealt with, and I've dealt with it, and I know that so many people do, and so many people don't feel comfortable coming out and saying it because it's still something that there's a lot of stigma around, when it comes to talking about it, because it can make you, and obviously this isn't true, but some people might think that people think you're quote unquote crazy, or that you're weak or anything like that.
mhm.
So I know that there's also so many people who haven't had a chance to come out and speak out about what they're struggling with. And that's also something I want to work on. And I think to understand all of that, I want to delve further into psychology and get a better understanding of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really inspired that you are pursuing academically something that has played a big role in your life personally. And I think, you know, every student comes to their subject for a different reason, and all of those reasons are valid. But I think that having this personal connection to the reason why you started investigating this subject and want to get deeper into it will only serve to kind of keep your passion alive as you're graduating and figuring out how you're going to work in that field, or what kind of graduate degree you're going to pursue, what you're going to focus on, what you're going to write your dissertation on. Like, you have this personal connection in the background that I think will keep driving you and motivating you. Um, and I mean, just want to name too the fact that, you're talking about breaking down the stigma and helping people feel safer and more connected and more able to share their story, which is exactly what you've taken this space to do. Like, you've spent time today talking about personal struggles and interpersonal struggles that you've faced in your college experience. And that really does make a difference when students are listening, or when anyone in our community is listening, and they're like, wow, this college senior can talk really articulately about what that sense of loneliness was like and how it impacted their experience at UMass and how they overcame it. Like, that's really vulnerable, and I just want
Thank you
to,
so much.
yeah, I'm really grateful that you shared that with us. And I think it ties so well into like sort of your mission behind your academic work.
Yeah, thank you again.
Yeah. Um, I think as we're, we have a few minutes left as we're winding down, I want to talk about the year ahead, because we spent a long time in this interview talking about um, sort of your journey through UMass, but you're in your final year. Obviously, you had um, kind of an interrupted campus life, right? Because we were working and studying from home, but you're back on campus officially. It's your last first month of classes, right? For your undergrad at least. Um, so how I want to check in and see how the semester has been for you so far, and if there are any things that you're hoping to accomplish or check off of your UMass bucket list in this last year.
Um, I mean, I would say my semester so far is going pretty well. I'm not finding myself too overwhelmed with classes, and I know that now I have people where if it does get overwhelming, I can go to them, and I don't have to feel bad about it. And I'm so sorry, what was the rest of the question?
Totally. I think that's really meaningful anyway, what you just said, that yeah, you should ask for support and not feel bad about it. And I'm glad that you have community in place for that. But I was also wondering if there are specific accomplishments or bucket list items that you want to check off in your next year, even like, you know, a place in Northampton that you haven't been to yet and you want to see, or something on campus that you've never done, or a room you've never
Oh.
been in but you really want to see.
Okay, actually, so I was thinking about this and I'm thinking like, once because junior year it went by really fast. So I know that senior year is also going to go by probably really fast, which is really scary to me because at least in high school, I feel like I knew that I was going to go to college. Like that
Hmm.
was, at least for me personally, that was never a question. But now that am here, I am so sorry about that. Now that I am here, it's really scary because, I know that I could go to graduate school and I know that that would be like a good option for me considering what I want to do as a job. But I know that I don't have to do that. Not that I ever had to come to college, but I know that I don't have to do that. I can do whatever I want, and that um, I don't know, there's unlimited opportunities for me. But I don't know, it's really scary. But yeah, going off that, I know that there's a lot of stuff that once I graduate, I'm probably never gonna come. I don't know. I'm probably not gonna come back here just
Hmm.
because I live like pretty far away.
Hmm.
Um, but some like specific stuff that I want to do. Ooh, one of them is one thing on my bucket list is I want to try to go into every building, just every building on campus.
Nice. Oh,
'Cause
that's such a good one.
yeah, it's because especially like near Southwest. Like, do you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? Like there's like a
Yeah.
bunch of little buildings and I have no clue what they're for. Like I know they're not dorms.
Yeah.
So I just, I don't have to like take a tour or anything. I just have to like go in, take a look. You're like,
Poke
oh,
around.
what it's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. That's such a good one. I I mean, I've worked here for over 3 years now, and I feel like I've been in so few buildings. And
Hmm.
yeah, you should definitely get a copy of a campus map and just go to town.
Yeah, because I know like I've never been inside a design building. And
Mm,
I think that's the one that has like all the plants in the roof. Am I wrong?
yeah. No, you're right. That building is amazing. The John Oliver building. You should,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I've heard like so many good things about that building, and I've been here for so long, and I've never even gone in once. And I'm just like, what am I doing?
This is the year. This is your year, Rachel. You're gonna get in there.
Yeah. Also, I've only been into like Northampton a couple times, and I remember the last time I went, I just like went by myself and I took the bus and I just like walked around and like went to all like the cute little stores. And I
Hmm.
spent like a whole day there, but I didn't even get to like explore half of it. So
Yeah.
I have to go back and like I have to go to everything like
Yeah.
before it's
Yeah.
too late.
I know. I know. Well, trust that the valley will always be here, even if you don't make it back for a while. But
Exactly. Like oh, sorry to interrupt.
oh no, you're totally fine. But I definitely understand like not knowing where life is going to take you, so you don't want to leave things around being like, "Oh, well, I'll do that another time." When you're like, I don't know, maybe I could get end up in grad school across the country or who knows where, you know.
Exactly, yeah. Like something that made me think of that was I was talking to somebody who's a little bit older about how I'm trying to make like a UMass bucket list and stuff I want to do before I graduate. And one of the things they suggested was go out and get dinner at like just a nice like restaurant in Amherst before it's too late. Because, like you said, after we graduate, we don't know where life's gonna take us. Like
Yeah.
I'd love to say like, oh, I'm gonna like and I'm sure I will. Like I'd love to say like I'm gonna see everybody all the time, but it's different from high school. We're not all going to come back to the same hometown. We're from all across the country. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know how often I'm going to see them. So it really made me think, like, yeah, I really should do that before it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah. Make the memories and connect with the people while you can and trust that, you know, if your paths cross again, they'll cross again, right? And that
Exactly.
there are lots of different ways that we can keep in touch now in 2022. Like technology has come such a long way. But also, I think making sure that you don't over rely on that so that you're not taking advantage of the present is really smart. And it sounds like that's just what you're doing. You're like, okay, I don't want to put all my eggs in the basket of, oh, I'm going to see these people all the time. So, like, how can I connect with them and how can I connect with the place I'm in now so that I don't have this looming regret of like, oh man, I really wish I had done that.
Yeah, that also went into me thinking about where I wanted to live for my senior year. Because at first I thought that I wanted to live off campus because in my mind I thought like, a lot of upperclassmen like they live off campus, like that's probably what I should do too. But then I really thought about it and I thought, I like I said here at the beginning, I struggled a lot with my freshman year and I'd love to be able to help other students with that. And also I realized I'm really only going to get to live in a college dorm during my undergrad.
Mhm.
So now still live on campus as an RA, and I couldn't be happier about it.
That's amazing. I bet you're a great RA. Any RA who's like, I wanted to give back to my community. I wanted to help first years not feel alone. I'm really passionate about this. I want to live in a dorm. It's like, wow, I wish I had had you when I was a first year. Um, Not to say, I mean, my res life staff were also great. I went to Smith. Um, but it's just so special to find someone who is like, yeah, I'm really committed to giving back to my community in this specific way because I had this experience and I want to do what I can to make sure other people aren't having this experience. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
it's especially meaningful to me because so for my senior year, I applied and I right now live in the same dorm that I lived in my freshman year when I was going through all of that. And I would be talking to students and I would talk to some students who are, going through the feelings of loneliness and isolation like I was going through my freshman year. And it really made me realize I don't know how much I value the idea of being a source of support and how much I want to be there for others.
That's so powerful. And it ties in so well with the fact that you were like interested in pursuing a career related to mental health, social work, psychology. Yeah, I'm getting through our conversation today, I've gotten this clear picture of you as this like caretaker and somebody who has
Oh,
like
sweet. Thank you so much.
come of their own and wants to use that power to not just help others sort of at a distance, but to like really be inside of someone's emotional world and help support them. And that's really special. I think that the field of psych is lucky to have you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I mean, that's the hope. I really hope I get to work in the mental health field.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so too. Thank you so much, Rachel, for your time today. It was really awesome to talk to you. And I'm excited to see what your senior year has in store for you. Also, I live in Northampton, so if you need restaurant recommendations, I can provide.
Yeah, I might actually take you up on that. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time talking to you.
Cool. Yeah. I'm so glad you came on the show. We'll talk to you soon. I'm struck by how brave Rachel's story is. She started in isolation, took on a journey to self-discovery, and ultimately is using her senior year to give back to her UMass community. Thanks, Rachel. If you or someone you know wants to be interviewed on Trajectory, please let us know. Email us at studentsuccess@umass.edu or DM us on Instagram at successumass. We hope to hear from you soon. Thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.